Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very good evening to all of you. Practice question session, and the practice question is SBR September December 22, and the question name is Jesse Company, and this is the question number two of the exam paper. And you people know very well the question number 2 of the SBR exam. Question number 2 of SBR exam, it's about the handling of ethics. But the question is not only about the ethics. Other than ethics matters, also the part of this question, including accounting standard, any accounting standard, including other than group, either maybe the group, current issues as well, sometimes performance measurement aspects as well. But ethics is a compulsion part. So very important question. We will discuss this particular question. Number one, with the first part of the video, we will cover the reading of the question. You people know very well, reading of the question is also an art. So we will here to discuss about how to learn the reading, the art of reading. Number one, art of reading the question. Number two, we will start to attempt the question with the part A, then part B, and we will also cover the examiner report. We will also cover the examiner report. Now start. Whenever, with respect to the examination, you're going to start reading the question, first of all, start reading from the requirement. First, read the requirement, and whatever the requirement is, whatever the mindset you have developed with the requirement, you have to read the context of the question based on the requirement. You have to read the context of the question based on the requirement. Okay, so start reading the requirement, but first read the main context of the question here. Main draft of the question. Quickly, Jesse Company operates in the oil and gas industry. So get the basic idea of the main page of the course. Question. It's something question about the oil and gas industry. The current financial year end of the Jesse Company 31st December X7. The following exhibits available on the left hand side of the screen provide information relevant to the question. The first thing is granting of license. Okay. Describe the process of granting license to the customers. Number two, ethical issues. Okay. Describe the potential ethical issues surrounding the working practice for the finance director. The information should be used to answer the question requirement with the response options provided. Okay, first read the requirement. Start. Number one, discuss whether revenue from service fees and the grant of license to a customer are a separate performance obligation or a single performance obligation. So from the first line, you have identified that this is something IFRS 15 revenue. Whether the revenue should be recognized at point in time in accordance with IFRS 15 revenue from the contracts with the customer. That's 8 marks. So A part is something about accounting standards, and this is IFRS 15. This is what about the IFRS 15. Okay, and IFRS 15, and there's something about separate or single performance obligation. This is something related to performance obligation point. Identify the performance obligation, step 2 of IFRS 15. That is something distinct point, distinct. Further, whether revenue should be recognized at a point in time according to IFRS 15. Okay, that's a point. So this is step 5, when to recognize, at point, yeah, over the time. So first thing is discuss. Number B, explain the ethical issues for the finance director. Explain the ethical issues for the finance director. Mr. Bristow, setting out the issues may be resolved. That's 10 marks. With SBR exam, I've already discussed with you that with the previous videos, examiner examined since the start, means since September 18, the ethics with 2 categorization. Number 1, ethics connect with some accounting issues. For example, the question about the accounting treatment, and somewhere management or the director have made some error, and the error may be the deliberate or by mistaken, and based on that accounting matters, some discussion about the ethics. So ethics integrate with the accounting matters. But other category of the ethics examination is that ethics related to real world accounting issues, but not related to specific to accounting standards, not related to accounting implications. So whenever you are attempting the question, you have to quickly identify, is this the question of ethics, that's something independent, it's about the accounting world, but not related to something integrated with accounting issues. So here's something, if we that point will be very much clear once we read the main context of the question. By the way, this question, it's the second part of the classification. So explain ethical issue of the finance director for the finance director, Mr. Besto, setting out how issues may be resolved. 10 marks. Very important, there are total 4 professional marks with entire SBR exam. The 2 of the professional skill marks related to ethics, that section A ethics, remaining 2, that's about the performance measurement, section B side. We will cover that point with another question. But here, the ethics point. Okay. So professional marks will be awarded for quality of discussion regarding resolution of ethical issue. Resolution of ethical issue. So particularly mentioned 2 marks related to resolution of ethical issue. Here resolution means action point, resolve, how to resolve. If you people know very well that if someone asks you that how to handle the ethical issue, so you must have to reply that there are 3-step principle. Number 1, identify the ethical issue. Number 2, whatever the ethical issue identified with the case need to connect with the ethical principles. That's what the ethical guidelines is going to compromise with that ethical issue. What are the threats, and these threats affect to the ethical principles, either objectivity and whatever, professional competence, etc. So second step is ethical, linking with ethical principles, and third is the suggest what to do now, how to revert that position, how to cover that ethical issue. So that's called action point. And the another terminology we can use for the in place of action point, the resolution. So resolution or action points are same. So here examiner particularly says that the quality of writing a quality of draft related to resolution of ethical issue, having 2 marks in this question. Now come on. Now it's time. So to read the context. So quickly, the requirement, it's A, it's about IFRS 15 issue. Requirement B is something about ethical issues. Examiner asking here something ethical related to finance director whose name is Mr. Betso. Now read the question. Read the question. Candidates, can you please reply me? Is my voice clear to all of you? Wait a minute. One moment. Now, once again, Jesse company provides service to customers to help them evaluate whether there are potential oil reserves in a particular geographical region. So they are actually Jesse company is a service provider, and they are actually consultant who who are expert to evaluate the position of the potential oil reserves in a particular geographical region. So what is the business model? For example, customer approach to the Jesse company and they have a contract that the chassis company make a survey process for a certain geographical area, but this all the services is based on something based on license. So what the point of the license we will cover here. So number one, service phase. Okay, during service phase, that's the service phase, Jesse company collect site data over the first year of the contract, then process and analyze the data. So once geographical region identified, then Jesse company first year, the contract for the first year to collect the data and process and analyze the data over the 6 months. The area surveyed is determined by Jesse company. Okay, area surveyed is determined by Jesse company, which is the only decision maker. The owner of both the data and the land being surveyed. Okay, so one thing is the geographical location, but geographical location is very wider. Out of that geographical location, at a very wider area, which particular means within the geographical location, which particular area that's need to survey, it's only the solely decision maker is Jesse. And Jesse survey collect the data first year, and once collect the data, so they will own both the data and land being surveyed. Okay, all of the data is made available to the customer in the final survey report. Customer cannot process the data or obtain the license other than by Jesse approval. The value of the customer is in the granting of the license, not in the data. Value to the customer is in the granting of license. A very important thing is that you need to understand the business model. If, for example, you are a Jesse company, I am the customer. For example, I approach you and we have made a contract that a certain geographical location we need to evaluate, means we as a company, we need to identify where the oil reserves exist, either low, either higher, either no. So for this purpose, I'm going to hire you. But it's not about that your contract, you are only the service provider, not in a manner just to give the data to me. No, not at all. Actually, I will highlight the area. Then you, the Jesse company, number one, you will decide which area you will survey, and you will own that area. And first year, you will just collect the data. After first year, after 1 year, by next 6 months, you will process and analyze the data. So first thing is that Jesse company will invest the time, resource to collect the data, to identify the land. It's all about the Jesse. Once the work done by the Jesse, all the data collected, all the surveys get by the Jesse, then Jesse company will provide the services to me in term of license. That you have a data and you provide me the right license, means right that yes, Mr. Hussain, you can access the data that I have completely prepared or compiled at one place. So actually, you are a service provider, but in term of license. First, you will work out all the aspects. Then you will provide the rights in terms of license to me. So actually, the customer are interested to get the license that how well you process the data and then evaluate the situation in which area the oil is exists or not. This is the business model of Jesse, and you are Jesse. That's important. Okay, as data being collected and processed, as data being collected and processed, presentation reports are given to customer to indicate the potential of an area. Customer having ongoing access to data during collection process. When the final report is available, customer decides whether to invest in the area. So this is what about the service phase. Once again, you need to read. During the service phase, Jesse company collects site data over first year of contract. Jesse company then process analyze the data over 6 months. The area service determined by Jesse company is only decision maker, owner of both the data and the land being surveyed. All of the data is made available to customer in the final survey report. Customer cannot process the data or obtain license other than the Jessica's approval. Value to the customer is the granting of license and not the data. As data being collected here, as data being collected and processed, presentation reports are given to customer to indicate potential of an area. Customer having ongoing access to data during collection process. When the final report is available, customer decide whether to invest in the area or not. So how the customer actually, whenever customer get the license, based on that license, customer will be able to process presentation and report, get the presentation, get the reports based on the data over the 1 year collected by the service phase. Then granting license. The customer can exit contract on receipt of report, but total price of contract include the price of final license is still payable to Jesse company. Very important. Now the important point is that how to grant license. Once again, you are Jesse, and I am the customer. You grant me the license. The customer can exit the contract on receipt of report, but total price of contract include price of final license is still payable to Jesse company. So once contract has made, Jesse company will start working and the customer it's now become liable to pay the amount. Irrespectively, when the customer will exit when the customer consider that their whatever the working done by Jessica based on the information, what the customer think that not much oil reserves. If the customer feels that not much the oil reserves, not up to the mark, customer can exit, but still need to pay the amount to the Jesse, because Jesse has made the working accordingly. In practice, no customers leave the contract at this stage. The license is granted at this stage, and once the license has been granted, no further analysis or services provided to the customer. The license is granted at this stage, and once license has been granted, no further analysis. Means once you, Jesse, provide the license to me, no, not the Jesse will further analyze, because now I will use the data and analyze the thing accordingly. Not the Jesse responsibility about the further analysis and service. The director of Jesse concluded that company has only one performance obligation, being the granting of license at the end of the survey. This is because collection and processing of data is a component of granting of license and cannot be distinguished from license. In addition, service phase alone is of no benefit on its own. Final license provided to customer based upon data collected and processed during the service phase. Once again, director of Jesse company concluded that company has only one performance obligation, and that is granting of license. This is because collection and processing of data, that is the service phase, is a component of granting license, and we cannot distinct or distinguish from license. So this first 3.5 lines related to the determination either license and the data service are two separate performance obligation or one obligation. In addition, the service phase alone is of no benefit on its own. The final license provided to customer based on data collected and processed during the service phase. That means the final license to the customer based on data collected and processed during the service phase. So all these last para reflecting that it's a one performance obligation, but we need to cover it. Candidates, can you please reply me? Is this clear? What is the context of the business? And this part of the question is actually related to part A. Part A. This one. Can you please reply me? Are you with me? Are you getting the point? What is the business model? I am going to tell you another way. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. I'm explaining the business model with a different example. For example, we are software house. We are software house. So can you please tell me what is the business of software house? Making software, sir. That is the business. Okay. Now, I'm giving you two examples. Number one, if for example, I am a software house company, for example, Hussain Qazi HQ software house, and you are a customer, or that's rearrange. You are a software company and I am the customer. Your software company name HQ software house. Okay, and HQ software house, for example, I am a customer. I have a meeting with you and there's a contract between you and me that you will make a software for me. Number one, I will pay you service charges. Once software will complete that belongs to me, this is the first business model. So here the software making company is just a service provider. Whatever the cost they are incurring, the software house, whatever the cost software house are incurring, they will charge at they, for example, software house having a cost of 1 lakh per month. So adding the margin of 20,000. So 1 lakh plus 20,000, that's called the service charges. That's charged to the customer. And this is not the licensing model. Once you as a software company complete your work, you will hand over the intangible or the services, software to the company, to the customer. But second business model, you will make a software means I am the customer and I have a meeting with you and you have finally decided, okay, Mr. Sen, the HQ software house, the HQ software house will make a software HQ software will make a software for me. Here, HQ software will make a software with by incurring own cost, number one. And once software complete, give license to customer to use the software for certain time. Very simple. And these are the normal models in the real world. For example, if as a customer I'm going to buy the Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe PDF Annotator. So actually the company Adobe has already developed some softwares and provide the customers the right to access them for the certain time. Even the Zoom technology, this is the second one. But the first one, for example, a bank wanted to develop a certain software and approach to the software company. The software company will make the software and hand over to the bank that's owned by the bank. So there are two class of models with respect to service-based companies. Either, number one, either in term of just a service provider. Number two, based on license aspects. License-based working. If you consider the second example, software company will own this software. Same case, Jesse actually, once customer identify the geographical location, Jesse will actually own the land, own the data. Within 1 year, all the costs incurred by the Jesse. And once all the data, material information collected, all the costs incurred about that geographical location, now the product is ready, like a software. Like a software. So at that particular moment, Jesse will provide the license to the customers. Okay, now you need to purchase this license and process accordingly. This is the point. But in this question, as compared to the example of the software, there is something different here, because it's a very different type of business. It's a very different type of business, means it's a very customized nature of the services. Once the data collected on all the things, all the working made by the Jesse and developed a license, and if the customer exit, maybe the another customer will not involve like a software, because with a software it's possible to open to the market, but here it's not the nature of the business. So for these type of license available to the open market, or there are a lot of customers. That's why Jesse initially with a contract made a terms, if any of the customer wanted to exit, go ahead, exit. But once they have done the working, survey working, process analysis and process working, once they have done, the customer will liable to pay the amount. That's a point. So this is what about the business model. Do remember that, I know that this is a very tricky question. Do remember that whenever you are working with a question during examination, ask yourself, is my mind clear about the business model? Is my mind clear about the context of the question? If your inner say yes, then go for application of IFRS. Then go for application of IFRS. Not before that. Then go for application of IFRS or application of ethics or application of performance measurement. One of the reason of the failure is that students are not clearly understand the context and the business model and very hurry to apply the accounting standard and other points. Okay, so this is first part. Next, ethical issue. Now here, Jesse company uses big data analytics. Big data analytics in various algorithms in order to indicate the potential of finding oil in a particular geographical location. The chief data officer understands the science and statistics and can explain outcomes simply and clearly to customers. Finance director Mr. Bresto, who is ACCA qualified, has a little knowledge of technology involved. He feels that technology used is too complex. No need for him to understand it as long as the chief data officer understand it. And the chief data officer report to the finance director. This is the case. Recently, outcome of one set of data showed that there was a little chance of being oil being found on one of the side, but finance director insisted that direct data was run again to include historical data, which would then indicate more favorable outcome for a customer. Mr. Bresto has a friend, Mr. Stylos, who works as the accountant at Oleo company. Ms. Stylo has asked Mr. Betso for advice as to how to account for license granted to Oleo company. Mr. Betso suggested that Ms. Stylo use IFRS 16 as it is the right to use license. And you must be very much expert that IFRS 16 categorically mentioned that IFRS 16 is not applicable for any intangible services license. It's not applicable for that license or intangible services license. In addition, Mr. Betso knew that Ms. Stylo held shares in Oleo company, suggested to her that share price of Oleo company was likely to fall because there was a little chance of oil being found as a result of granting of the license. This is what the ethical issue. So this is what about the question, the reading of the question aspect. Requirement once again. Discuss whether revenue from service fees and the grant of license to customers are separate performance obligation or a single performance obligation. And number two, whether revenue should be recognized at a point in time in accordance with IFRS 15 revenue from contracts with customers. This is the point. That is the point. That is the point. Okay, class. Then explain the ethical issues from the finance director Betso, setting how issues may be resolved. Ten marks. Candidates, can you please reply me? This is all about the reading of the question. Now it's time to attempt the question. With this part of, this question, particularly here. Number one, granting of the license. Number one, granting of the license. Number two, ethical issue. So there are two broader requirements. A part related to first window. B part related to ethical issues. Very broadly examined. So till now, any question? Now we are going to attempt the question. Okay. Okay. I strongly suggest we need to take a 2 to 3 minutes a short break, and after that I will explain you all the details how to handle the part A and all this. 2-3 minute short break.